This is a copyrighted work. Unauthorized copying or distribution is a crime punishable by up to 5 years in prison and a fine of $250,000.
Scholastic Audio presents Dragon Masters Book 24, Dawn of the Light Dragon by Tracy West, read by Emily Ellett. Before we start, while the Dragon Masters world is not the real world, many of the characters and places in it are inspired by real-world cultures. For this reason, I'll be pronouncing the names of these characters and places the way they'd be pronounced in the real world. These pronunciations may differ from how you think a name might sound based on its spelling alone. Chapter 1. A New Quest. It was early morning in the kingdom of Bracken, but it looked like night. A strange, dark shadow had spread across the sky. The day before, Dragon Masters Drake and Jean had traveled to Sindhu. There, they had learned what was causing the sky shadow. Chaya, a shadow dragon, had eaten a seed that cursed him. The seed allowed Chaya to absorb any magic being used by wizards around the world, filling him with powerful, evil energy. Now, he was using that magic to create the sky shadow. Chaya's power and the sky shadow were both growing by the minute. Soon, the whole world would be in shadow. A wizard had told Drake and Jean that their only hope to stop Chaya was to find a star dragon. Then a scroll revealed that a light dragon was needed to summon a star dragon. Drake and Jean stood in the Dragon Master's classroom, staring at a map with Dragon Master's bow and Dharma. They all listened to Griffith, the wizard. "These are the Pickland Islands," Griffith said, pointing. The map showed a group of islands floating in the sea. "Drake and Dharma, you should find a light dragon there." Drake studied the map. "What do we know about this place?" he asked. Jean held up a book. "This book that Rory and Anna found says light dragons live on the Pickland Islands because the sun shines day and night during some parts of the year." "And a light dragon will help us summon a star dragon, right?" Bo asked. "Yes," Griffith replied. "Do we know how the star dragon will help us stop the shadow dragon?" Dharma asked. Jean shook her head. "No, the scroll doesn't explain that. But the star dragon must be very powerful. It will not be easy to stop this supercharged shadow dragon." Drake shivered, remembering the glowing red eyes of Chaya and his dragon master Aruna. Drake and Jean had tried asking them to stop making the sky shadow, but the seed's evil powers were too strong. "Have you had enough rest, Drake and Dharma?" Griffith asked. "This could be a challenging mission." The two boys looked at each other and grinned. "We're ready," Drake replied. Chapter 2. The Crystal Castle. Drake packed a bag with items for the mission. First, he made sure he had the gold disc that Dharma had given him. Dharma had said Drake would need it, but didn't say why. Dharma can be very mysterious sometimes, Drake thought. Second, Drake packed the book about light dragons. Third, Drake grabbed the map of the Pickland Islands. Drake and Dharma studied the map as they walked into the dragon caves. "Do we know which island the light dragons live on?" Dharma asked. "No," Drake said, "but Worm has a knack for transporting us close to the dragon we're looking for." Dharma nodded. "Worm is very good at sensing dragon energy." The two boys reached the caves. Drake put a hand on Worm, and Dharma put one hand on Worm and the other on his gold dragon, Hema. Every dragon master wore a piece of the green dragon stone that allowed them to connect with their dragon. The stone around Drake's neck glowed. "Worm, take us to the Pickland Islands," Drake cried. Worm's body glowed with green light. The light flashed, and Drake's stomach flip-flopped as they transported. When they arrived, Drake noticed the blue sky overhead. The rising sun streaked the sky with orange. "Phew," Drake said. "The shadow hasn't reached here yet." Dharma closed his eyes. "The sun feels good on my skin." Drake looked around. He could see a jagged coastline hugging the sparkling blue ocean. The air smelled of salt. Drake heard Worm's voice in his head.
"I can sense something very powerful over the hill."
"This way," Drake told Dharma. As they walked up the hill, a low rumbling sound rose behind them. The boys and their dragons turned around. A herd of horses galloped across the land. But they didn't look like any horses Drake had seen before. They were smaller than most horses. Some had long reddish-brown hair, and others were the color of butter. The boys looked at each other in wonder, then kept climbing. As they reached the hilltop, a stunning sight greeted them. A small castle made of clear crystals overlooked the ocean. The sun's rays hit it, and the light reflected off in a dazzling display.
"This castle shines even brighter than Hima's gold temple," Dharma remarked.
"Something tells me we've found where the light dragon lives," Drake said. Chapter 3. Rune and Lysa. Drake and Dharma shielded their eyes from the bright light of the crystal castle. As they approached the entrance, Drake heard Worm's voice in his head.
"There is definitely a dragon in here. I can sense her."
"Let's introduce ourselves," Drake said. The glittering doors were partly open. They entered and stepped into a large room. While the walls and floor were gleaming crystal, the room was filled with ordinary-looking wooden furniture, a table and chairs, a cozy bed, and a bookcase filled with books, toys, and seashells. A dragon was lying on a comfy-looking rug, with a boy curled up inside her tail. The boy was moving the pieces of a small wooden cube. "That looks like a puzzle cube," Drake thought. The dragon had white, shimmering scales. A symbol made of curved lines in the center of her chest softly glowed with rainbow light. The dragon raised her head when she saw the visitors, and her eyes grew wide. The boy's dragonstone glowed, and then he looked over and saw the visitors too. He put down the cube, and his long red braids swayed as he jumped to his feet. The dragon stood too, stretching her gleaming white wings. Drake spoke up. "Hello, I'm Drake, and this is Dharma. We've come because we need help from you and your light dragon." The boy moved his hands and fingers, making shapes in the air. Drake looked at Dharma. "Is he trying to tell us something?"
"He is using sign language," Dharma replied. "Back home, the monks use sign language to communicate when they practice being silent."
"Do you know sign language, then?" Drake asked his friend.
"I learned some signs from the monks," Dharma replied. "But sign language is different in different places. I do not understand these signs."
The boy was tapping his foot impatiently as Drake and Dharma talked. "I wish I knew this Dragon Master's language," Drake thought. Then Drake had an idea. He closed his eyes. "Worm, please introduce us to this dragon." After about a minute, Drake heard Worm's reply in his mind.
"The light dragon's name is Lysa. She and her dragon master Rune want to know why we are here."
Chapter 4. The Secret. "We came here to seek your help," Drake said, and Worm communicated the message to the light dragon. Rune's dragonstone glowed, and he put a hand on Lysa's neck. Soon, Drake heard Worm in his head.
"Rune is communicating with me and Hima through Lysa,"
Worm told Drake.
"Rune says, I'm deaf and I communicate using my hands, not my voice. But Lysa and I understand each other's thoughts. Because you two do not know sign language, we will communicate using our dragons."
Drake smiled at Rune, and the boy smiled back. Then Drake explained the plan to Dharma.
"That is a good solution,"
Dharma agreed. Drake turned to Worm and Hema. "Dharma and I will count on you two to translate everything we say." He looked at Rune next. "Lysa looks like an amazing dragon," he said, his dragon stone glowing. Worm communicated with Lysa. Soon Rune's dragon stone glowed, and he nodded as Lysa relayed the words to him. Then Worm passed a message to Drake.
"Rune says, Lysa is amazing. I was very lucky to be chosen as her dragon master. I think it is because Lysa guards many mysteries, and I am good at solving puzzles."
The three boys continued their conversation. Drake and Dharma quickly got used to the flow of messages. "Worm and I communicate using our thoughts all the time," Drake thought. "Until Dharma and I learn how to sign, we all will use this method for communicating with one another." "We are here on a mission," Drake continued. "A shadow dragon has become evil and is spreading a sky shadow across the world. To stop the shadow dragon, we need a star dragon. But how we summon one is a mystery. A scroll told us that we need the help of a light dragon, and a book said we would find you here." Drake gave the book about light dragons to Rune. Rune flipped through the pages. He stopped on a picture of a maze with moss-covered stone walls.
"Is that where Lysa will summon the star dragon?"
Dharma asked, his dragon stone glowing. Rune shook his head. His dragon stone glowed. Then Worm shared Rune's response.
"No, the labyrinth holds the secret to summoning a star dragon."
"Can you tell us the secret?" Drake asked.
"Rune says a star dragon is very powerful. It would be dangerous if the wrong person summoned one. So, with your permission, Lysa will perform the light of truth on you both. We need to make sure you are not lying about your mission." "We will do it," Dharma said. "We have nothing to hide."
Rune motioned for the boys to stand and face Lysa. The symbol on the light dragon's chest glowed brightly with rainbow light. The colorful light reminded Drake of when sunlight hit a waterfall and he could see all the different colors inside the light beam. Then the rainbow light surrounded Drake and Dharma. The colors swirled and formed a word: speak. Drake felt strange, like something magical was pulling the words right out of him. Both boys began to speak at the same time. "We must stop the shadow dragon," Drake cried.
"Plants will die and people will starve,"
Dharma said. "A star dragon is our only hope of saving the world," Drake finished. Chapter 5. The Labyrinth. The light of truth swirled. The colors formed a sentence. You speak the truth. The light faded from Lysa's chest. Rune grinned at Drake and Dharma. A moment later, Drake heard Worm.
"Rune says the secret of the labyrinth is that it holds a star flute in its maze of walls. With a star flute, you can summon the star dragon. But traveling through the maze will not be easy. It is full of traps and creatures that guard it."
"Will you come into the labyrinth with us?" Drake asked Rune.
"Rune says, yes, Lysa and I want to help you. I am good at solving puzzles, and we will need Lysa's light to reach the flute. But you will only have until dawn to find the flute. If you fail, the maze will never let the four of you in again."
Dharma nodded.
"Then we will not fail,"
he said simply. Drake headed for the castle doors. "Let's enter the labyrinth." Rune shook his head.
"Rune says the labyrinth doors will open at sunset." Then Rune pointed at Worm and Hema. Rune asks, "While we are waiting, can you tell me about your dragons? Lysa is the only dragon I have ever seen, until now."
Drake grinned. "We can show you. Worm, lift me up." Worm's body glowed green, and a green light began to shine around Drake. Slowly, Worm lifted Drake into the air, using the powers of his mind. Rune's eyes got wide. Dharma followed Drake's lead.
Hema, fetch me a book,
he instructed. Gold light flashed, and Hema transformed into a gold fluffy dog. Hema bounded across the castle, grabbed a book from the shelf, and brought it to Rune. The boy smiled and raised his hand with his thumb, index, and middle fingers facing upward. Then he snapped twice and pointed at Hema.
"That must be the sign for dog,"
Dharma cried, and he repeated it as Hema transformed back into a dragon. Drake copied the boys. "This is a fun language," he remarked. Then he pointed at Worm. "What is the sign for dragon?" His dragonstone glowed. Rune put his right hand in front of his mouth, with his palm down and his fingers forward. Then he wiggled his fingers and moved his hand forward. "Oh, it's like when Vulcan breathes fire!" Drake cried. He and Dharma both tried it. "I don't think I'm wiggling my fingers right," Drake said.
"It takes practice," Dharma told him. "The monks were patient when they taught me their sign language."
"Rune, can you teach us more signs while we're waiting for the sun to set?" Drake asked. Rune grinned, and the dragons shared his reply.
"I will teach you signs we can use in the maze."
Chapter 6. Learning from Rune. Drake and Dharma spent the next few hours learning from Rune. Rune made a fist with his right hand and bent his wrist down and back up to sign yes. He tapped his right thumb against the two first fingers of his right hand to sign no. Rune held his left hand in front of his chest with his palm flat and elbow out. Then he moved his right fist in a circle around his left hand to sign danger. Then Rune made fists with both hands and raised both thumbs. Holding his left hand slightly higher than the right, he moved both fists up and toward the left. Then he pointed at his chest with the index finger on his right hand to complete the sign, "Follow me." "Rune, how did you learn this language?" Drake asked.
"Rune says, my parents are both deaf and I was born deaf. They have been communicating with me in sign language since I was born, so it came to me naturally."
The boys practiced together. Drake and Dharma made the signs over and over, and Rune smiled whenever they got them right. When the sun began to set, Rune led the way along a grassy path to the labyrinth. The outside wall of the maze was shaped like a big circle. As they got closer, Drake saw that the stone wall was much taller than any of the dragons. The entrance to the labyrinth was a round door carved with a pattern of spirals. The last rays of orange sunlight disappeared behind the green hills. Drake got goosebumps on his arms. "The door is about to open," he thought. "I hope we can find the star flute before sunrise." Chapter 7. Lost. Everyone watched as the labyrinth door slowly slid open by itself. "Follow me," Rune signed, and they all stepped through the doorway. A soft light shone from Lysa's chest. It revealed pathways on either side of the entrance. Rune and Lysa began to move forward. Drake ran in front of Rune. "I have an idea," he said as his dragonstone glowed. "Can Worm just transport us to the end of the maze? Or can Lysa fly there?" "No," Rune signed. Then Dharma spoke up.
"There is strong magical energy in this maze. Watch. Hema, try to fly out of here."
Hema transformed into a small golden bird and flew up toward the top of the nearest wall. Hema bounced against some invisible force, and plummeted a few feet before landing on Dharma's shoulder.
"I cannot transport while I am here," Worm told Drake. "That usually is the case when I am in a magical space."
"Caw-caw! Caw-caw!" Drake turned to see a large black crow on the path to the right. "Wait, how did that bird get in here?" he asked.
"Rune says the crow is one of the creatures that guard the labyrinth and protect the flute."
Hema stayed perched on Dharma's shoulder, and they all headed right where they had seen the crow. They walked and walked, but soon they found themselves back at the entrance. "This doesn't make sense," Drake muttered. Rune made the shape of an L with his left index finger and thumb, and then moved his hand to the left in a quick motion. "Left," he signed. They followed Rune to the path on the left. Again, they walked and walked, right back to the entrance.
"Both paths led us in a circle," Dharma remarked.
Then Lysa shone her light on a spot on the inner wall. Rune walked over for a closer look.
"Rune says, look, these markings might show us how to get out of this loop."
Chapter 8. A Code and a Challenge. The Dragon Masters studied the markings on the maze wall. There were pictures of simple objects and animals, like a tree and an owl.
"Rune says, see how these pictures repeat? I think they might be some kind of code."
"Tree, house, blob?" Drake said.
"Rune says, that shape is what the main island looks like from the sky. I have seen it when riding on Lysa."
"Tree, house, island, sun," Drake said. "Then there's a new line."
"The way the pictures are grouped together makes them look almost like words," Dharma pointed out. "Rune says, perhaps each picture represents a letter of the alphabet. What if the tree is T and the house is H, and so on?"
Drake tried Rune's solution. "THIS spells this," he began, working it out. "This is a door. This is a door." Yes, 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 Rune signed. Drake frowned. "But this is a wall, not a door."
"Anything can be a door,"
Dharma said, and he pushed on the stone wall. There was a groaning sound as a chunk of the wall moved aside. "We did it!" Drake cheered. They walked through the secret doorway onto a new path with walls on either side. They moved forward until the path came to a sudden stop. A huge crack in the land split the path in half. To keep going, they'd have to get across the gap. Drake looked down. The crack was very, very deep, and the gap was too far to jump across, and even too far for Worm to stretch across.
"Rune says the path is too narrow for Lysa to spread her wings and fly us across."
Drake nodded and studied the rocky gap. Rocks, he thought. And then he looked at Worm. He'd seen his dragon break rocks into pieces with the power of his mind. Maybe... "Can you use your powers to build a bridge out of rocks?" Drake asked. Worm smiled.
"That sounds like fun."
The earth dragon began to glow. A green light swept from the top of Worm's head to the end of his tail. A rumbling sound came from the bottom of the gap. The ground underneath their feet shook. Then, 7 stone pillars rose from the depths of the gap. They stopped when they reached the top, making a stone pathway across the deep hole in the earth. Rune stared at Worm, wide-eyed. Drake patted his dragon's neck. "Great job, Worm!" "Excellent," Dharma cheered, and he stepped across the pathway. Rune, Lysa, Drake, and Worm followed. They hadn't gone far when the maze branched into 3 different directions.
"Which way should we go?" Drake asked.
Chapter 9. A Puzzling Box. The Dragon Masters studied the 3 paths in front of them. Rune's dragonstone glowed, and then Lysa shone her light on the walls. Carved words became visible. Day can sometimes look like night. A baby bird will one day take flight. Something small can have great might, but what is wrong will never be blank.
"The last word must be right,"
Drake said.
"Yes, but why is that word missing?"
Dharma wondered. Hema relayed Dharma's question to Lysa, and the dragons gave Rune's answer to the boys.
"I think I know. The word right has 2 meanings. We should go right, not left."
Drake grinned.
"I think Rune is right."
Dharma signed to Rune. Yes. They all headed down the path until they came to a dead end at a large wooden door. Rune pulled at the handle, but it wouldn't open. Then Drake spotted something. To the right of the door was a stone pedestal topped with a wooden box.
"I wonder if this box holds a key to the door,"
he asked. He picked up the box and shook it.
"Something is rattling inside, but how do we open it?"
The box was made of slats of wood with lines carved in them. Rune took the box from Drake.
"Rune says it's a puzzle box like the ones I have in the castle. If you arrange the slats just the right way, the box will open."
Rune started to push the slats with his hands, and they moved. He moved them several times. Then he frowned. The box was not opening.
"Perhaps when all the slats are arranged correctly, those carved lines form a picture,"
Dharma suggested. Drake studied the lines and the way they curved. He started to recognize some shapes. A tail, an ear. "Dragon," Drake signed to Rune and Dharma. Rune looked at the box again, and his eyes lit up. He moved the slats until the lines joined together to show a dragon on the box. Then one slat popped open. Grinning, Rune shook the box, and a brass key slid out.
"We did it!"
Drake cheered, holding up the key.
"Look at these prongs! Don't they look like dragon's teeth? Caw-caw!"
Suddenly, a crow swooped down. It plucked the key out of Drake's hands and flew away. Chapter 10. The 5 Crystals. With the key in its beak, the crow flew up and sat on top of the wall.
"Hema, get that key!"
Dharma cried. Hema flew off Dharma's shoulder and chased the crow, but bumped into the magical barrier. The crow disappeared over the wall. Hema transformed back into a dragon. Rune frowned. Dharma put a hand on Rune's shoulder.
"Do not worry," he said. "I have an idea."
Dharma turned to Drake.
"Drake, where is the piece of gold that I gave you?"
Puzzled, Drake took the gold disc from his bag.
"Right here." "You got a good look at the key. Hold the gold in your hand and picture the key," Dharma instructed. "Close your eyes."
Drake closed his eyes.
The prongs of the key looked like dragon's teeth, he thought,
and a picture formed in his mind. He felt the gold disc move. He opened his eyes. The disc had turned into the key.
"Well done, Drake,"
Dharma said. Drake tried the key in the lock. The door handle turned, and he pushed the door open. When he took out the key, it transformed back into a gold disc.
"Rune says that was amazing."
"This is a very useful magical object," Drake remarked, putting it back in his bag.
"Thanks, Dharma."
They all went through the doorway, and the door slammed shut behind them. They had entered a dark dirt tunnel. This new pathway sloped down. As they walked, Drake had a feeling they were heading deep underground. The tunnel opened up into a room with stone walls and a ceiling overhead. In the center stood 5 large crystals. Each one was as tall as Griffith the Wizard. "Is there a way out of this place?" Drake wondered. Rune stepped into the center of the circle of crystals. The others followed him. Then he pointed to the crystals. Each one had the same flower-like symbol carved on it. "That reminds me of the symbol on Lysa's chest and on the labyrinth door," Drake thought. The boys studied the crystals, and they all noticed something at the same time. The symbols were not exactly the same. On one crystal, there was a dot inside one of the flower petal shapes. On another crystal, 2 of the petal shapes had a dot inside them. "There is a number pattern on the crystals!" Drake cried.
"Maybe we need to touch the crystals in number order to make something happen,"
Dharma suggested. He touched the crystal with 1 dot first. Then he touched the one with 2 dots, then 3 dots, until he touched the 5th crystal. Nothing happened.
"Rune says, these crystals remind me of the Crystal Castle. Rather than touching them, I think Lysa should try shining her light on them."
His dragon stone glowed, and the symbols on Lysa's chest glowed, too. The dragon shot a beam of light from her chest, and it hit the crystal with 1 dot. The whole pillar lit up. "Go, Lysa!" Drake cheered. One by one, Lysa lit up the crystals. The boys shielded their eyes as the light in the underground room got brighter and brighter. Now all 5 crystals shone brightly. Looking up, Drake saw that the lights made a star shape on the ceiling. Drake felt movement under his feet. The circle-shaped floor began to rise. Chapter 11. The Moving Maze. The ceiling opened up, revealing the night sky overhead, which was a shade paler than when they had entered the maze. Drake's dragonstone began to glow.
"Rune says, nights here are very short at this time of year. We need to hurry."
The floor carried them back above ground, and then stopped. The labyrinth was different now. Instead of stone, the walls were made of thick, green, leafy hedges. "Let's keep moving," Drake said, and they made their way down the path. They turned left, then right, then right, then left again. "I hope we're getting closer to the Starflute and not just going in circles again," Drake muttered. The Dragon Masters walked ahead of their dragons in silence as they made their way through the maze. Drake walked beside Rune, with Dharma just behind them. Then they all felt a rumbling in their feet. The earth shook. Suddenly, a green hedge wall burst from the ground behind Drake and Rune. Spinning around, Drake saw that Worm, Lysa, Hema, and Dharma were on the other side of the wall. "Worm!" Drake yelled. Another wall burst through the ground in front of them. Rune grabbed Drake's arm, pulling Drake toward him. Drake and Rune made the next turn together and continued through the maze, changing direction as more walls popped up around them. The 2 boys stopped, breathless, when they came to a dark, murky pond. A wall rose up behind them, trapping them. The only way forward was through the water. "Worm, can you hear me?" Drake called out with his mind.
"Yes," Worm replied. "Walls separate us now. Keep moving. We will find each other."
Rune had stepped up to the pond. Drake joined him and stared into the water. "It looks deep. We might have to swim," he said. Then he realized that without Worm and Lysa, Rune wouldn't know what he was saying. "I wish I knew the sign for swim," he thought. Drake made a paddling motion with his arms, hoping Rune would understand. "Yes," Rune signed in reply. Then he showed Drake the sign for swim. He held out his open hands in front of him, palms facing down. He moved them apart and back together in small circular motions. Just then, Drake heard a voice in his head, but it wasn't Worm's.
"Who dares to approach my pond?" the voice said.
Chapter 12. The Beast's Demand. Drake looked over at Rune. His new friend's eyes were wide with fear. Something in the pond was communicating with them both. The Dragon Masters took a big step back from the water's edge. The surface of the water rippled, and a head emerged. The beast had gray, slippery-looking skin and a long snout. Bright yellow eyes gleamed from its face, and a single curled antenna grew from its head. The voice, ancient and deep, entered Drake's head again. "Who dares to approach my pond?" Drake took a deep breath. "I am Drake, and this is Rune," he said. "We seek the star flute, and—" The beast's eyes fixed on Drake. "To cross my pond, there is a price. What have you to give? Something shiny and rare will do." Drake saw Rune reach for the dragonstone around his neck. He tapped Rune's arm. "No," Drake signed. Drake took the gold disc from his bag and held it out. "Ooh, gold. I love gold," the beast said. "I hope Dharma won't mind," Drake thought. He tossed the gold disc, and the beast caught it in its mouth and gulped it down. "Delicious. You may pass," the beast said. The beast disappeared under the water. Then the pond vanished. The boys walked forward on the grassy path. They hadn't gone far when a golden head came through the hedge wall. It was Hema, in goat form, munching on leaves. Drake and Rune laughed. Hema ducked back through a large hole in the hedge, and the boys followed. Worm, Dharma, and Lysa were waiting for them on the other side. Hema transformed back into a dragon. Dharma's dragon stone glowed green, and he grinned. "No, I don't think you can chew our way to the starflute, Hema. Not even a dragon's tummy could hold that many leaves." Then Drake heard Worm's voice in his head. "Rune says, 'I can't believe we met the Pickland beast. I have heard stories about it, but never seen it. I am glad we escaped. Thank you, Drake, for giving up your gold disc." Drake turned to Dharma and added, "We ran into a monster, and I had defeated the gold disc you gave me. I'm sorry." Dharma smiled. "It is okay. I sensed you might need—" But Drake stopped listening because he heard music. Sweet high notes came from a pathway on their right. "Is that the sound of the starflute?" Drake asked Worm, taking a few steps toward the path. "Lysa tells me birds are singing that song, trying to get us lost," Worm replied. "We need to move away from the sound before—" Charmed by the music, Worm stopped talking to Drake and crawled down the path. Drake, Dharma, Hema, and Lysa followed him. The bird's song led them away. Chapter 13. The Final Clue. Drake, Dharma, and the three dragons walked toward a flock of singing bluebirds. Rune ran in front of them. "Danger! Danger!" he signed. Drake saw Rune and understood the sign. He paused. Beyond the birds was nothing but an eerie blue mist. Drake somehow knew the mist was dangerous. But the music... "I have to follow the music," he thought. Then Rune's dragonstone began to glow. Lysa blinked, and a bright light shone from the symbol on her chest. The light hit the birds, and they scattered. The singing stopped, but the mist remained. Drake, Dharma, Worm, and Hema stopped walking. Drake shook his head from side to side. "Thanks, Rune," he said. "We almost walked right into that mist." "Rune says the birds were trying to get us lost in that mist. We should go back in the other direction." Rune and Lysa led the way. They turned left and right and then left again. The next right took them to a dead end. This pathway ended with a tall wall made of a green hedge. Right before the hedge was a box floating in the air. It was bigger than the puzzle box, about as long as Drake's arm. And carved on the box was a flute. "We've finally found the star flute!" Drake cried.
"Just in time," Dharma remarked. "The sky is a shade lighter than it was when we began. Dawn is coming very soon."
Drake looked at Rune and motioned to the box. Rune stepped up to the box and tried to open it, but the lid did not move. He frowned.
"Rune says it will not open."
Then Rune's eyes widened. He pointed to the top of the box where a rhyme was carved. "If you came here alone, there is no help for thee. The box will open only for a circle of 3. The boys grinned at one another. They knew what the rhyme meant. Drake, Dharma, and Rune formed a circle around the floating box. Then they held hands. The box opened. A silver flute floated up and hovered in the air. "The star flute," Drake whispered. Chapter 14. Lysa's Light. Drake grabbed the flute from midair. As he did so, the hedge wall in front of them swung open like a door. The sun was rising over the horizon, casting orange rays across the ocean. They'd found the flute just in time. Drake looked at Rune. "Thank you," he said. "If you and Lysa had not entered the labyrinth with us, we would never have gotten the flute." Rune's dragonstone glowed, and he grinned.
"Rune says, I am glad you have what you need to continue your difficult mission. You must hurry, though. Look." He pointed to the edge of the sky, where the sky shadow had begun to creep, covering the sun's rays. Dharma frowned. "The sky shadow will not stop until it covers the world," he said. Rune's eyes narrowed. His dragonstone glowed again. Then he climbed on Lysa's back. The light dragon took off, flying toward the shadow. "What are Rune and Lysa doing?" Drake wondered. Lysa's whole body began to glow. A big, bright wave of light poured from the symbol on her chest. The light pushed back the sky shadow, and the sky turned bright once more. Lysa stopped glowing, and she and Rune landed. "That was amazing!" Drake cried. "Rune says, Lysa's light can push away darkness, but the sky shadow is too big for her powers alone. You must still use the flute to summon the star dragon." Drake nodded. "I know I said thank you before, but how do you sign it?" he asked. Rune's dragonstone glowed. Then he kept his right hand flat and facing himself. He put the tips of his fingers over his lips. Then he moved his hand forward and a little bit down. Drake and Dharma repeated the sign. "Rune says, I have another sign to teach you. This means friend." Rune curved his first fingers on both hands into C shapes. Then he hooked his right finger over his left, and then hooked his left finger over his right. "I see. It's like two friends giving each other a hug," Drake said. He put the flute into his bag. He and Dharma both signed to Rune, "Thank you, friend." "Rune says, I will see you again when you return the star flute." Drake smiled at Rune and Lysa, and then put a hand on Worm. "Take us to Bracken." Chapter 15. Sunshine in Bracken. Worm transported Drake, Dharma, and Hema in a flash of green light. They landed outside of Bracken Castle. The sky shadow hovered over most of the kingdom, but in the farming fields, bright sunlight was shining. "What's that about?" Drake said. "Worm, take us there." Worm transported them, and they quickly realized the source of the light. Kepri. Anna stood on the field.
Her dragonstone glowed as Kepri flew overhead. A beam of sunlight flowed from the sun dragon's mouth, lighting up the plants. Anna's eyes lit up when she saw Drake, Dharma, and their dragons. "You're back!" she cried. "Rory and I completed our mission to warn wizards to stop using their magic. Did you find the star flute?" Drake took the flute from his bag. "We did," he said.
Using Kepri to make sunlight is a great idea,
Dharma told Anna. She nodded. "Thanks. It will keep the crops growing for now." Anna pointed to the huts. "Rory and Vulcan are making fires to help keep everyone warm. But you should go see Jean and Beau in the castle right away." Worm transported with Drake, Dharma, and Hema to the training room. The boys found Jean and Beau in the classroom with Griffith. Jean jumped up. "We have so much to tell you," she cried.
"We have found some answers about the star dragon,"
Beau added.
"I would love to hear more, but I must create a portal so that Hema and I can go home," Dharma said. "I sense we are needed in Suvarna."
Back in the training room, Drake hugged his friend goodbye. "Thanks for your help. I promise we will do everything we can to save the world. We will play the flute and summon the star dragon." This is Emily Ellett. We hope that you have enjoyed this production of Dragon Masters Book 24, Dawn of the Light Dragon by Tracy West. This audiobook was produced by Dion Audio Services and directed by Brian Lincoln. Executive producer, Melanie Gagne. Print edition illustrated by Matt Loveridge. Print edition published by Scholastic Incorporated. Text copyright 2023 by Tracy West. Production copyright 2023 by Scholastic Incorporated. All rights reserved.